Hello and welcome back to another episode of More Than a Business Live. I am your host, Mitch Case. I am also the co-founder of my wife and I's business, More Than a Meal, where we work with organizations to help them strengthen their most valued relationships, whether it's an employee or a client, by showing gratitude, appreciation, empathy, one meal at a time. We are coming live to you again on Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. We come every single Thursday, and the whole purpose of this show is really to highlight individuals and organizations that are really leading the charge or go about business in a way that truly makes them more than a business, where their people really do come first, and in some situations, maybe even animals. We'll get into that here in just a little bit later today, but I do first want to give a shout out to our sponsor, True Captive. They are a True Captive believes in healthcare that is personal and insurance that is not complicated. So if you do ever want to learn more about this unique captive healthcare program, just go on over to truecaptive.com. You can find them at their website or even on LinkedIn. I'm happy to get you connected if that is something of interest for you. So with today's episode, we are going to be talking with an amazing organization here in Kansas City called Great Plains SPCA. Kyle Gabrielson is going to be joining us, and Kyle is in philanthropy, and your title is Philanthropy and Engagement Manager at the Great Plains SPCA, one of Kansas City's Metro's most comprehensive no-kill animal welfare organizations. And a little tidbit and shout out is that Kyle just took some puppies over to Mayor Q's office this week earlier. So I think you can maybe even see some of that on his feed over on LinkedIn. But Kyle plays a critical role in enhancing and expanding the organization's fundraising program in collaboration with the Director of Philanthropy and Engagement. He leads charge in project managing fundraising events, managing donor relationships, and crafting targeted fundraising campaigns with a keen focus in innovation and effectiveness. So that's as far as I'm going to get into the intro for Kyle. I'm going to let him tell the rest of that. So without further ado, Kyle, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Mitch. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I love it. Well, hey, go ahead and tell us I know I mentioned a little bit about it, but go ahead and tell us a little bit about your position specifically and what it looks like, as well as the Great Plains SPCA.
Yeah, well, so as the Philanthropy and Engagement Manager, like you mentioned, I oversee a lot of our fundraising strategies, our individual donors, our corporate partners, and then our special events. So as a private admit shelter in the Kansas City Metro, we receive about 80% of our funding annually from donations. And like I said, those come from individuals, corporations, and these special events that we host. So we've got a lot of really exciting upcoming events that can help benefit the shelter. We service about 5,000 animals a year. That's cats, dogs, the occasional bunny. And we do that all here at our shelter in Merriam, Kansas. We serve 9 municipalities in the Johnson County area, as well as a lot of outreach services on both sides of the state line.
Wow. Yeah. I know that we were even kind of talking a little bit beforehand, just with the interactions that you have with animals and human beings, just in regards to the work that you do. So we'll definitely dive into that here in just a second. But before we do that, I do want to say, anybody that's tuning in live, shoot us a message in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, both your city that you might be tuning in from, but also the platform. We don't always get to know exactly where you're tuning in from. So go ahead and shoot that in the comments. But also, if you have any questions about Kyle as we continue this conversation, or also the Great Plains SPCA, if you have any questions, we'll try and get to those towards the end and see if we can answer any of those for you. So with that, Kyle, the way that we typically start this show off is with an impact story. So go ahead and tell us something that maybe you have done, or the SPCA, Great Plains SPCA, has done to directly impact a colleague, maybe a community member, or potentially even one of the animals that you guys are able to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really all about the human-animal connection here, and we really focus on matchmaking animals for people. And so one of our big impact stories, I like to talk about a dog named Max. Max came to us from a really scary situation. He was chained outside. So his field of view and his life was very limited, being on a heavy chain. And unfortunately, when he was tied up, he was attacked by another dog. And during the altercation, he lost his leg. And so what happened with Max is he came to us. We took his leg off, and then he was with us. So we knew from that point that his quality of life would be better not being on a chain and living outside. But he had to learn how to trust people again after that traumatic experience. This story ended up going viral on Newsweek, which was pretty cool to see. Max ended up getting adopted, which was awesome. It's always our end goal is to get them into a home. Max was with the owner less than a year, and the owner was diagnosed with a terminal disease and recently passed away. And so Max came back to us. And so I think Max's story really highlights the human animal connection, and the work that we do. You know, the medical care that goes into every animal that we adopt out is about $1,500. And so, you know, that's feeding them, that's their medical care, and their care while they're here. And so most of our animals are only with us about a month, thankfully. But we've got some animals currently that are with us a year at the shelter, and that's no fault of their own. You know, we just are always really focused on finding the right homes for these cats and dogs, and making sure that it's a good fit for those adopters.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's probably a lot of similar organizations that want to make sure it's obviously as good of a fit for the animal as it is for the human being side. But I appreciate you guys and just the care that you do provide for those, especially those that maybe are there a little bit longer than they would like to be there. So I'm curious though. So with the story of Max, like very empowering, helps an individual near the end of their life as well, and has come back. Like what does those types of stories, watching that kind of stuff do for the individuals that work there, like yourself included, like seeing these types of things, like what does that do for you when you're showing up the next day and you see, you know, there's an animal that's still there for a year, or another one that's been passed up on or something? Like, what does that do for you guys when you see the success stories to maybe even power through some of the challenging ones?
Yeah. So we see there's a lot of happy stories, and there's a lot of sad stories working in animal welfare. And we've got staff here every day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 365 days a year. And it can get emotionally exhausting for individuals. But one thing that really makes us stand out as an organization is we provide 100% paid for mental health services for all of our staff here, which is incredible. And so you'll see a lot of, you'll hear the term compassion fatigue associated a lot in healthcare. You know, we saw that post-COVID, during COVID. There's a lot of that here in the animal welfare space. You know, we get to go home every night to our home, to our animals, our pets. But those shelter pets, they're here and they're struggling with anxiety, with maybe aggression, and it just amps up the longer they're here. I like to say, and our CEO often says that an animal shelter is like an airport. Some people do really well flying. They have no problems going through security. They enjoy the airplane ride and it's fine. But there's a lot of people that struggle in that scenario at the airport. You know, the TSA doesn't go right, your flight's delayed, XYZ. Well, you can equate that to the shelter. Some pets do totally fine and some don't. And when they are stressed, it takes them longer to find their forever home. And so to combat that, we have a really robust foster program where the stressed out cats and dogs are able to live in a foster home for as long as it's needed. So.
Wow. And that just kind of helps alleviate the anxiety and stress that they may be feeling in the shelter.
Yeah, it's any break for them is a good break. So some of our foster programs, you know, it can be a weekend, it could be a long-term thing. And if someone sees an animal that they're interested in, they can meet that foster pet here at the shelter.
Sure. I love how much you guys like clearly are taking care of animals, but even more so, just the mental health of the team itself. You know, that was going to be a huge question of mine, is how do you deal with that? And, you know, bottling that up. I have a wife that is also a nurse. She comes home. Sometimes my shoulder is to cry on. Other times there's really amazing, powerful stories that come from it, but it is emotionally mentally draining work, and on top of that, physically draining work as well. So I love to hear that organization like yours is truly caring for its team members in that mental capacity as well. Let's transition specifically into Great Plains SPCA, and what really makes it more than just a business. Like it's clearly has the heartstrings and the feels side of things, but it's got to go further than that as well. So what is it about Great Plains that truly is more than a business?
We're really in the field of helping animals find their forever home, and we do that through matchmaking and making sure that pets go into a great home for the rest of their lives. But like I mentioned, our paid mental health services for our staff, and we have about 50 staff full time here, and about half of them have been on staff 5 years or longer, which is really a testament to the culture that we have here, and the culture we continue to build and grow on as an organization.
So, I mean, that is a very high retention number. I mean, most of the time you hear about, a year, maybe 2 years is your typical average length of employment, especially through COVID, was wild. Like what you talked about the culture there. Do you have any thoughts, ideas, some of the things that you particularly like within the culture that really just kind of makes you guys a cohesive team outside of the mental health side of stuff, but like some of those different things, like maybe talk a little bit about some of those activities you guys have going on?
Yeah, we've got some great initiatives here at all levels of the organization. We have weekly team meetings where everyone, regardless of their role, is able to speak and voice their ideas. And then we have a really cool program called CEO for the Day, where we're able to work with our CEO and kind of share our ideas and implement them. We also just started an Ingenuity Award where anyone can provide ideas and get those implemented. So it's really cool to see folks at all levels contributing to the big picture of what we do every day.
Let's talk about the CEO for a Day. I always kind of talk about with my organization and my team members is like, think of this as your own business. Like you are the entrepreneur, like put yourself in those shoes. Like what would you change if you could change it? What can we get better at? What should we get rid of? Like, this is not worth the time, energy, and effort that we're doing. And sometimes as the leader, you don't have the ability to like take a step back and look at it from a different view because you're so far into it. So have you been CEO for a Day yet?
I have not.
Okay.
A lot of my colleagues have, and we've had some pretty unique things come out of that. So today's Thursday, and every Thursday we have what's called Cat-tastic Thursday. And what that means is that we as staff have to spend 15 or more minutes one-on-one with one of our cats here at the shelter.
Okay.
And that just provides extra socialization for them. So we'll take a meeting or just a quick break in with the cats. That came from CEO for the Day, which is a pretty neat thing because a lot of us, focus on the dogs. So the dogs need to go outside and need to go on walks and everything, but the cats also need that socialization and stimulation.
Sure. What has there been any sort of feedback on what that's actually doing for the team member itself versus just the cat and the socialization? Like that, it's not very often that somebody gets in a worse mood after they've sat and cuddled an animal for a little bit. So I'm curious, like what kind of motivation you see out of that? Like what kind of things have you heard from your team members or even yourself from having that mandatory cat? Well, I don't want to say it wrong because I go to catastrophe and that's not the right word.
Cat-tastic.
All right.
It gets you up. It gets people, that have an office job, it gets them up out of their seat and to spend time with the animals. And that's really, our mission at the end of the day is to get everyone adopted. And so it's really cool to be able to interact with those pets and share, our interactions with how they do with us, if they're more sociable, if they're more if they're just not as socialized. And so we work on that. We also do we do 2 pack walks a week on Mondays and Fridays. And so that's a big group walk with our dogs.
Wow.
And so we do that. And so that's not only great team building for us, but it's good to see the dogs interact with other dogs and make sure that they're good and socialized. Because we want if they are good with other dogs, we'd love for them to go to a home with another pet.
Sure. The idea of like what kind of impact an animal has on a team member and how that can maybe boost morale, boost moments of maybe feeling down. I mean, a lot of organizations are caring more for their team members' pets through insurance, and even some having office animals running around. I don't know what the answer is to this, but it's just very interesting to me that that can be a potential like perk or benefit within an organization to say, hey, look, we want you to spend some time, and hopefully I'm sure there's some allergies that have to be taken into account, but I can just see some interesting spaces, maybe with smaller organizations, where that family or that office pet that comes from one individual and comes to the office every day can really boost some fun morale, at least for a little bit, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we also, every staff member here that has an office, we have a different dog or cat in our office every day. And so what that really does is helps get them out of the kennel, and it could emulate maybe someone who works from home. And so I told you before we went live, my own cat is here today.
Yeah.
Hanging out with me. He's got a vet appointment, but he doesn't mind coming here. But yeah, we've got we're supposed to have 2 dogs in our office every day, so first half and second half, and that's just to see how they do. So we're able to provide feedback to our adoptions team to see, are they potty trained? Are they able to tell you when they need to go outside? Are they really hyper? Are they really chill? And that goes in with the matchmaking process. So when our adoptions counselors are meeting with a family, they can say, hey, I saw that Juliet is really good in an office. She is pretty chill and does great on the leash. Because we really, like I said, our goal is to get everyone adopted. And so we really do play a role in making sure that those notes go in our system so we can communicate that out to our adopters.
Yeah, I want to lead the conversation in now towards the donor side, where you're very active in and putting on events and building that up. The donors are an extremely important part of the business. As you said, 80% does come from donations. So what do you see from your active donors for events to individuals? Like, what do you see that they get out of participating in a giving gesture in that way with the Great Plains SPCA?
People have such an affinity for their pets. They really become a part of the family. And Definitely. For us, it's really just making that connection with our donors to make sure that they feel connected to our mission work that we do. And a lot of our donors have adopted from us, and they know that the care that we provide is some of the best care in the region. And they want to make sure that we can continue to thrive and provide that care for animals for years to come.
Well, let's talk. If you have any events coming up that somebody would want to know about, if you have any ideas around that, go ahead and shout those out real quick so we can see other ways that we could potentially get involved as donors or volunteers and whatever space that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just a sneak peek of some things to come. We haven't really advertised these yet because they are a little
breaking news then, huh?
Breaking news here coming from Great Plains. We are hosting our annual pickleball tournament on Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
So that's May 5th. And
2 wins on that one, both pickleball and Cinco de Mayo.
So that's going to be at Chicken and Pickle in Overland Park. And there are individual teams that you can register for. And there's also a great opportunity for a corporate sponsorship as well. We have a great corporate sponsorship program here where we welcome corporations of all sizes to get involved. We also have our annual sand volleyball tournament in August. I know that's a ways out, but it fills up quick. Same with pickleball. So
listen, in our minds with that tease of the warm weather and then what's coming this weekend too, we're all just ready for winter to be over. So yes. I'm looking forward to that too.
Yes. I also wanted to give a shout out. We are doing an event on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th.
Ooh, yeah.
With a newer organization, new company in the area. It's called Foaling Warehouse. So it's like bowling and football.
I just saw that. I'm very interested to hear more about that.
Yeah, so they just opened up in November. We are very excited about that. It's really just kind of an open house for folks to um, try out this new sport, this new and emerging sport that's in the Kansas City area,
Yeah,
and meet us, meet the team, and learn about Great Plains.
sure. After this show, if you could put all of those links when they are available in the comments of this show, that way people can find that pretty easily. Be happy to make sure that people can get signed up for those and get those on their calendar here sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. And these also will be on our Facebook page. We have a pretty robust Facebook
Perfect.
page. It's just Great Plains SPCA, and then they can also be found on our website, greatplainspca.org.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Kyle, let's talk about you specifically. This is one of the questions that I always really enjoy asking because we aren't always going to be our best selves, but we still work in a place that maybe we are motivated, maybe we do find that purpose. But what continues to have you wake up and show up every single day to not only serve the animals that you get to serve, not only serve the team members that you get to serve, and not even the donors that you get to serve, but what about you that continues to make you show up day in and day out to be able to be blessed to serve the people that you get to serve?
I have said from day one, I think I've got the coolest job ever. The work that I get to do every day, interacting with our donor base and our community as a whole, is really cool. Everyone's got a passion for animals. I myself have 6. I've got 4 cats and 2 dogs.
There you go.
They are all rescues. So it's really cool to be able to share my story and my pets with the community, and just bringing them back to the work that we do. It's very impactful, meaningful. Sometimes it's emotionally exhausting, but at the end of the day, we really get to see a lot of happy things here.
Yeah, and I just kind of want to reiterate again something you said early in the show, is the fact that they invest 100% of their money, well, that money towards the mental health side of things. I just imagine that can be such a safe space to go to when seeing the ups and downs of the industry that you are in. Kyle, what is, like, if somebody wants to learn more about Great Plains, if they they want to go to an event, anything along those lines, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you to learn more?
Me directly, I've got my work email, I've got a phone number, but we also have a lot of resources on our website in terms of adoption. So we have our adoptions team, we have our community outreach team. So if you are struggling to provide adequate care for your pet, we're able to provide services to you at no cost. So food, medication, vaccinations, because we really want to ensure that pets are able to stay in the home where they're comfortable. And that can all be found on our website. In terms of event sponsorship and things like that, all of that information also is on our website and will come directly to me.
What is the website?
Our website is greatplainspca.org.
Okay. And then your email address, if they wanted to reach out to you to hear more about anything that you kind of spoke of today.
Yes, and I'm so glad my last name is on the screen here. It's
right there.
My email is K Gabrielson. I don't have to spell it. K Gabrielson at greatplainspca.org. And you have to make sure there's 2 S's, plainspca.org.
Plains SPCA. Okay. And if for whatever reason you have a hard time reaching Kyle, just shoot me a message on LinkedIn and I would be happy to get you guys connected on that end. Kyle, a part of this show, something that my wife and I always wanted to do as well, just to show our own gratitude and appreciation for the time you spent on here. We want to give a meal away to somebody that you know, whether they're in your organization, maybe a donor or somebody that recently has a brand new pet at their home that they are having a tough time with, maybe. Who is somebody that you would love to gift this meal to? And with as much info as you'd like to share, tell us who that is and why.
I would have to, I've got a couple people in mind. We've got some I've got a coworker here that recently lost a family member, and I know that they probably were having a challenging time. That's from a staff perspective. We also have our wonderful volunteer base here as well. So we definitely have some people in our system, our ecosystem, I like to call it, that would be very deserving of that.
Well, what we will do after the show is we'll get a specific individual. And if there is a situation where you want to serve more, we have more meals to give. We can help with that a little bit as well and figure out what we want to do from that perspective. But with that, Kyle, like we've really kind of reached the end of our show, and I'm just really grateful for not only you jumping in last minute a little bit as well, but also just the work that you are doing to care for our four-legged friends. I really do appreciate that. Is there any last things? Oh, I wanted to mention, you said that you have an open position as well. What is that? How does somebody learn more about that? Where should they go if that is something that maybe resonates with them?
Yeah, so we're always hiring great, talented individuals here at Great Plains SPCA. Those positions can be found on our website, I believe under the About section. One of the positions we're hiring for is a major gifts officer, so someone who's got experience in the fundraising field, specifically soliciting for donations.
Awesome. Well, if you can't find that, shoot me a message. I'd be happy to get you again contacted with Kyle, and you can potentially be a part of that team as well. So with that, Kyle, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. For everybody that has tuned in or will tune in, thank you so much for continuing to show up for this show. It does truly give me joy to highlight individuals like Kyle and the organizations that they serve. So I just wish you that you would continue to strengthen those relationships with those clients, those team members, those community members that are out there doing really, really amazing work and the work that they get to do. So with that, I'll see you next Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. And until next time, have a wonderful rest of your week.